One of the key challenges faced by community and social media practitioners today is the challenge of mapping community and social media initiatives to business objectives. What I mean here is, how do you relate, for example, let's say a community and business social media initiative which you have, to a business function, let's say like sales? How do you say that because of these community initiatives, it has helped drive sales of a certain product or a service by X percentage, or what is the contribution of these community and social media activities towards sales? That is a question which is asked. Now, the problem is compounded by the fact that most social media metrics today report on things like how many likes you have, let's say on Facebook, or how many people have mentioned about your content, or how many people have retweeted your content, or so on and so forth. The problem here is likes and tweets do not translate into sales related metrics. They do not show how they're impacting sales. Now, this is a challenge which needs to be addressed by taking a step back into understanding the business objective first. So, if you look at sales as a business objective, there are a variety of different ways in which you can increase sales. And if you look at it fundamentally, there are three different ways in which you can increase the sales of an organization. Now, the methodology I'm describing out here is called FRI, and I'll get to why and how it came about slightly later. But let's start with one of the first things which FRI helps you do. It helps you identify and break down your sales process. So take, for example, you could increase sales of a certain product or service by increasing the frequency with which your existing customers purchase from you. So if, say, they were purchasing once a month, how do you entice them to purchase more than once a month? How do you possibly increase that frequency of purchase to 2 or 3 times a month? That's one way in which you could increase your sales, which is increase the frequency of purchases by your existing customers. The second way in which one could increase sales is by tapping new customers who currently are not reached by your current programs. So, reach or reaching out to net new transacting customers is another way of reaching or increasing your sales. Now, these could be people spread in different geographies, uh, you know, different customer demographics, people who have not been your target customer earlier, and so on. So, reach is the second way in which you can increase your say or your revenue or your sales. The third way is by something which quite a few organizations do, which is upselling. Let's say you're a coffee shop, you could upsell to your existing customers, looking at increasing the value of the transaction, which ultimately is the yield per transaction. So upsell in terms of selling a small, customer who's buying a small, encourage him to buy a medium or a large, or sell a coffee and a cookie, and thereby increase the transaction size each time the customer transacts with you. So Fry basically helps you to break down this process, which is your sales process, and understand how you could increase uh, the revenues uh, by either increasing the frequency, increasing the reach, or the yield. Fry was developed within Microsoft as an organization, and I'll talk a bit more about its history. But essentially, when we look at community programs, it helps us to break down the business objective into constructs which are clearly understood and which can then be measured in a very easy way. So the acronym is actually frequency, reach, and yield, FRY. That's what it stands for. Now, once you understood this, and let's say your manager says, reach is the way I want to go about increasing sales, the next question which automatically pops up is, how do you reach out to those new customers? What channels are we talking about here? Are we talking about reaching out to people on, let's say, social media or community social sites like LinkedIn, or reaching out to the user groups and at their physical meetings, or is it via Twitter or Facebook or YouTube and so on? You'd need to decide the correct, or you need to select the correct channels based on where your customers really are. And you need to figure out whether they're on these social media channels. So you'd start with sales objective, define that reach is the way you want to increase sales, and then go about selecting one or more of these channels. The next step is to figure out, how do you measure the impact of your selection, right? So let's say you say, we want to go the Facebook or the LinkedIn or the Twitter way. How does this impact my sales is what you need to figure out. Let's assume this, arc-ish line out here is your current sales and the way it's happening. And let's say at this point let's say this is the month of July for argument's sake. Let's assume that this is the time period when you kick off your social media initiatives. So you've got a baseline first of your earlier sales, and then you're marking the new sales which happen. Now, this difference in the median sale which was happening earlier vis-a-vis the new sales which are happening due to your particular community or social media initiatives, this change is the effect of your community or social media initiatives, right? So this change or delta is what you will use to show the effectiveness of that community activity, or that or the tactical activity of engaging with customers on those social media channels. And that's how you would be able to show the impact of this particular activity which you've undertaken, and how it has helped the sales in terms of actually reaching out to new customers. Now, just better point out in mind out here, which is that you're looking at net new customers. So you'd need to eliminate from this data which you collate about sales which have happened to existing customers. So let's kind of review it. You start with trying to figure out, how do you map this to a business objective? And in this case, we started with sales. So to summarize, what we went about is understanding that the likes and tweets don't really directly rather relate to sales. You need a mechanism which will or a model which will allow you to do this. Fry is one of the best ways in which you can break down that business objective and understand what you're trying to do, whether it's frequency, reach, or yield. And Fry was invented within Microsoft to help their distributors sell more. Then you went about defining what kind of community strategy you would use to reach out to these net new customers. And I just want to add here, you need some kind of a framework to engage with the community. And though that's not the focus of this particular talk, just like we have Fry out here to help us identify and break down the particular business objective, similarly, you need to use some kind of model, which you then use, and you then measure the impact and change which has happened in your business, or rather in the reach which you've now been able to achieve by employing these particular community engagement strategies which you have. So that's how we would come down to measuring the effect of your, or rather you'd go from your business objective to community initiatives, and then map out how that is going to fit together and how you'll be able to measure it. As I said earlier, you need a framework even for community engagement, and you can find more details about it on our website, which is www.communitiesareus.in. So I hope to hear more from you via the comments and also on feedback via our website.